Hey everyone, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I always love seeing how far our stories reach. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next incredible story coming tomorrow. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Let me know what you thought of today's story too, and feel free to share your own experiences in the comments. I can't wait to see your thoughts, and I'll be reading through them all. Here's the title you requested. This waitress didn't know it yet, but a billionaire was about to change her life forever. David Mitchell, a successful businessman in his early 40s, sat at the corner table of a nearly empty restaurant that evening. The soft glow from the overhead lights bounced off the polished tables, casting an almost ethereal atmosphere in the room. His expression was distant, a far-off look in his eyes as he sat with his young daughter, Sophie. Sophie, a sweet little girl in a wheelchair, had been his world since the tragic accident 2 years ago. The doctors had told him she would need therapy, but nothing seemed to bring her back to the joyful child she once was. Sophie barely touched her food, her eyes constantly glancing up at her father, waiting for him to engage with her, but he seemed lost in thought. The connection between them had grown fragile, the grief and trauma overwhelming both of them. Emma Parker, a waitress in her late 20s, moved quietly between tables, finishing her shift in the near-empty restaurant. She wiped down surfaces and reset silverware, her feet aching after a long day. Rent was due, and every tip mattered. As she walked by David and Sophie's table, something about them caught her attention. The girl, with her big, curious eyes, seemed so full of potential, but something was missing. She hadn't seen Sophie laugh or even truly engage with her father. It wasn't uncommon to see wealthy customers in this restaurant, but there was something different about this pair. When Emma passed by their table again, she overheard Sophie's soft voice. "Daddy, can you help me?" The man blinked, pulled from his thoughts, and awkwardly reached out to help his daughter, but it was clear his movements were unfamiliar, uncertain. Sophie smiled, but there was a flicker of disappointment in her eyes. Emma felt a tug at her heart. Without hesitating, she approached the table and offered, "Would it be all right if I helped?" Sophie's face lit up instantly, and David glanced up at Emma, surprised. "It's fine if you don't want me to," Emma added quickly, sensing his hesitation. Before he could answer, Sophie spoke again. "Please, Daddy, she's really nice." David exhaled slowly and nodded. Emma knelt down next to Sophie and gently took the spoon. She smiled warmly at the girl, introducing herself. Sophie's laughter began to fill the space, and for the first time in what felt like forever, the air felt lighter. Emma knew this moment was different. It wasn't just about serving food, it was about connection. As Emma carefully fed Sophie, she couldn't help but notice how much the little girl was relaxing. With each bite, Sophie seemed to grow more comfortable, her tense body easing, her eyes lighting up with joy. For the first time that evening, Sophie wasn't just going through the motions of eating. She was genuinely enjoying the moment. Emma smiled as she watched the girl laugh, a sound so pure and unburdened, it filled the quiet restaurant like music. It was like the weight of the world had lifted off Sophie's shoulders. Meanwhile, David remained silent, his eyes locked on the scene unfolding before him. He watched as Emma patiently fed his daughter, her every movement gentle and caring. But it wasn't just Sophie he was watching. David noticed every small gesture Emma made, how her hands were soft but firm as she helped Sophie, how her presence seemed to light up the room. There was something about the way she interacted with Sophie that stirred something deep inside of him. He had spent so much time trying to fix things with therapists, specialists, and all the wealth he could buy, but none of it worked. Nothing had made Sophie smile like this in the past 2 years, not since the accident. David's chest tightened. He was no stranger to wealth. He had it all: money, power, status. But watching Emma care for Sophie, watching how she made Sophie laugh without hesitation, was something he had never seen before. It wasn't about money or therapy. It was about something deeper, something more profound, genuine compassion. And in that moment, David realized just how much Sophie needed this connection, this kind of care. Sophie, completely at ease now, giggled between bites. "You're really nice, Emma," she said softly, her innocent words hitting David harder than he expected. The way Sophie spoke to Emma was so sincere, as if she truly felt seen and heard for the first time in ages. David's gaze never left them, and for the first time in a long while, he felt something stir inside him, a feeling he couldn't quite name, but it was strong. He had spent the last 2 years trying to fix the unfixable, but here, in this simple moment, it felt like something was finally being healed. Watching Sophie, watching Emma, he realized the answer to the one thing he had been seeking for so long: real connection. This wasn't just a waitress. This was someone who could change everything for his daughter, someone who had already done more in a few minutes than he had in years. And in that instant, a decision was made. David knew he had to do something, something that would change Emma's life forever. The weight of his decision pressed down on him, but there was no turning back now. As Emma continued to feed Sophie, she noticed the change in the air. Sophie's laughter, once a faint echo of joy, was now full and genuine. The little girl's eyes sparkled with a sense of comfort she hadn't shown all night, and for the first time in ages she looked truly at peace. Emma felt a warmth in her chest, the satisfaction of knowing she had done something good, something meaningful. But she didn't notice David's unrelenting gaze as he watched them. He was still, almost too still, as if frozen in time. His eyes followed every movement Emma made, not just as she helped Sophie, but as she brought a sense of normalcy to a world that had been shattered for so long. David's thoughts raced. He had seen so much in his life, from luxury to heartbreak, but nothing had struck him like this. The way Emma interacted with Sophie, without judgment, without expectation, was like a light breaking through the darkness that had consumed his family. He'd spent millions trying to fix Sophie, to bring back the child she once was, but no amount of money had worked. Therapists, specialists, all the resources at his disposal, none of it had restored his daughter's spirit. But Emma, a simple waitress, had done more in a few moments than anyone else had in 2 years. And he felt it. He felt that something deep within Sophie was being healed, not through anything clinical, but through human connection. As Sophie giggled again, Emma smiled, her heart swelling with a quiet pride. But then Sophie spoke, breaking the silence. "You're really nice, Emma," she said softly, her words pure and unfiltered. Those simple words hit David harder than he had imagined. Sophie had always been reserved, hiding behind the pain and the trauma, but now, in front of Emma, she was herself again. The girl he had once known, the one who laughed, who played, who loved life, was coming back. David felt the weight of the moment press on him. His chest tightened, and for the first time in a long while, he felt something unfamiliar, a stirring hope. He hadn't realized just how much he needed this, how much his daughter needed this. And it wasn't just about Sophie anymore. It was about Emma, her kindness, her patience, and the way she had brought Sophie back to life, even if just for a few moments. David knew in that instant that his life would never be the same. He had made his decision. Emma had done something that changed everything, and now he was going to change her life too. Without thinking, he reached into his pocket, pulling out his business card. He slid it across the table toward her, knowing it wasn't just a gesture, it was the beginning of something that would alter everything for both of them. David sat there, his mind racing as he watched Emma continue to feed Sophie. The transformation in his daughter was undeniable. With each bite, Sophie's laughter grew louder, her spirit lifting in a way that David hadn't seen in years. There was a warmth in his chest, a flicker of hope that had been absent since the accident. But as much as he felt grateful for Emma's kindness, something inside him told him that this was just the beginning. He couldn't leave it at this moment. This woman, this waitress, had done what money and therapy couldn't. She had connected with Sophie, and he needed to make sure that she didn't slip away from their lives. David watched Emma for a long time, his thoughts swirling. He had always believed that wealth could fix anything, that it could buy solutions to every problem. But in this moment, he saw clearly how wrong he had been. Sophie had needed something much deeper than what his money could provide. Genuine connection, something Emma had effortlessly given. It wasn't just about food or a job to her. It was about seeing Sophie, truly seeing her, and bringing back a part of her that had been lost. David couldn't ignore it anymore. He had made his decision. As Sophie finished her meal, still beaming with joy, David cleared his throat, gathering his thoughts. He knew what he had to do. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out his business card. He slid it across the table toward Emma, his hand steady but his heart pounding. "If you ever need anything," he said, his voice calm, yet carrying a weight of sincerity that surprised even him, "call this number." Emma glanced down at the card, her eyebrows furrowing in confusion. She had no idea who this man was or what he was offering. "What's this?" she asked softly, her voice laced with curiosity and hesitation. David didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned his attention back to Sophie, helping her adjust her wheelchair as they prepared to leave. He stood up, glancing back at Emma for a moment. "A chance," he said quietly. "It's yours if you want it." Before Emma could ask more, he took Sophie's hand and wheeled her toward the exit, leaving Emma standing there, heart racing, staring at the business card in her hand. Her mind was spinning. What did he mean by a chance? Who was he really? And why did he care so much? As the door closed behind them, Emma slipped the card into her pocket, her thoughts swirling. She had no idea what was coming, but something told her that this moment, this simple act of kindness, would change everything. The next day, Emma returned to work, trying to shake off the feeling of uncertainty that clung to her since David had handed her that card. She tucked it into her apron pocket and tried to focus on the usual flow of her shift, but her mind kept drifting back to the mysterious offer he had made. What did he mean by a chance? And why had he chosen her, of all people? She had seen wealthy customers come and go, but none had ever shown this kind of interest in her. It felt surreal, like a dream she wasn't ready to wake up from. The day passed in a blur, the usual hustle and bustle of the restaurant filling her with the same tired routine. She moved through the evening shift, serving food and resetting tables, but there was a strange weight on her shoulders. She couldn't stop thinking about the card in her pocket, the one with just a phone number on it. No company name, no title. What kind of chance was he offering her? She kept wondering, trying to focus on the work in front of her, but her curiosity gnawed at her. By the time she finally got home that evening, exhaustion had pressed down on her shoulders, but sleep didn't come easily. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the card and what it might mean for her and her brother, Oliver. They were barely scraping by, and here was this man offering her a chance at something more. But what was it? She could feel the pull of the unknown, the possibility of something life-changing just out of reach. With a deep breath, Emma reached for her phone, her fingers trembling slightly as she dialed the number. The phone rang twice before a deep voice answered on the other end. "I was wondering if you would call." It was him, David. Emma hesitated, her heart racing. "It's me, Emma, from the restaurant." "I know," he said simply, his voice calm. "Meet me tomorrow at the address I'm about to send you." She blinked, surprised. "Wait, what? You wanted a chance?" David's voice softened. "Here it is." Before Emma could respond, the line went dead. A message popped up on her phone, an address. She stared at the screen, her heart pounding. She didn't know what she was walking into, but something deep inside told her that whatever awaited her would change her life forever. The next morning, Emma took the bus across town, following the address to a towering glass building. It was unlike anything she had ever seen, a world far removed from the life she knew. As she stepped into the pristine lobby, she felt out of place in her simple clothes, but she pressed forward. The woman at the front desk led her through sleek hallways, and when she entered the large office, she froze. There he was, David, sitting behind a massive desk, his unreadable gaze fixed on her. But it wasn't the office that caught her attention. It was the wall behind him. A wall of photos, all of Sophie. Emma's breath caught as she saw the images. Sophie laughing, Sophie in a hospital gown, Sophie in a wheelchair. The weight of the moment hit her like a wave. This wasn't just a job offer. This was something far deeper. David spoke softly, his eyes never leaving hers. "She means everything to me," he said. "I want you to be a part of her world." Emma's heart pounded. This wasn't just about a job. It was about a future. And for the first time in years, Emma saw a glimmer of hope. A chance at something she had never imagined. Something real. Something worth fighting for. Wow! What a journey this story has been. I'm curious, how did you feel about the billionaire's decision to offer Emma a life-changing opportunity? Do you think Emma made the right choice? It's not every day that someone gets a chance like this, and I'd love to know what you think. Have you ever had a moment where a small act of kindness completely changed your life or someone else's? Drop your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I really want to hear from you. And if you're enjoying these stories, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you'll be the first to hear our next powerful story. We've got more incredible moments coming your way, and I promise you won't want to miss them. Also, let me know where you're watching from. It's always so fun to see how far these stories reach. Let's keep the conversation going. Comment below, share your thoughts, and be part of this community of amazing people.